प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः. Pranams everyone. We are in the chapter 6. We are looking into Dhyana. Dhyana or meditation. We saw that Dhyana can be for two reasons or two purposes. One is for Upasana and the other is for Nididhyāsana. Upasana is a type of dhyana that is performed before we get knowledge. This is a preparatory step for gaining knowledge. The other one, Nididhyāsana, is performed after gaining knowledge. Now within this Upasana, we saw there are 4 steps of Upasana or 4 types of Upasana. The first one was relaxation meditation or relaxation dhyana. The second one was concentration dhyana. The third one was expansion dhyana. And now the fourth one is value dhyana or value meditation. In the last class, we did a small vichara on value. In the sense, a value, values are known to everyone, but how our life is dependent on, or it is determined by the value we place on those values. And typically every one of us have different value for every value that we want to follow. We saw that how will meditation really help? How will dhyana help? Or help in increasing the value that we have on our values was the question that we were doing a vichara at the end of the session, last session. In the sense, everybody knows what values to follow: being honest, being truthful, not talking about others, not gossiping about others, not feeling ill, not having any ill feeling towards others, not wishing anybody any bad things. These are all values that everybody knows that must be followed. But how does knowing it, will it really help in following things? If we really reflect upon it, every one of us, we know all the values, but whether we are following the values as much as we should be, maybe we are not. So how does dhyana help here? And when do we follow a value? We follow, first of all, we have studied, we have seen some of the Puranas, some of the stories where we had seen about stories of how people have actually been following the values irrespective of the painful situations they undergo. So from there, what we have understand is these people have been able to stick to those values in spite of those difficulties, because the benefit that they get from following these values are much higher, are far better, are more, they are the benefits that they get out of following these values, they give a far higher satisfaction, happiness, joy than the sorrows that they are facing by actually sticking to those values. Now we know that, but for us to actually follow a value, we must experience its benefit. Only if we experience its benefit, we will be more willing to follow the value. But for us to experience the benefit, we must have followed it. So this is where we had stopped. It's actually like a catch-22 situation. For me to have conviction to follow that value, I must have experienced its benefit of following that value. But for me to actually experience that benefit, I should be following it. So how do I break this loop? First thing Shastra says is studying the lives of Mahāns, observe how they gained higher happiness through these values. So that will inspire us to practice first. So initially there is no choice for us. We will have to practice it first. The benefits we'll have to get it later. And for us to actually get inspired, that is the reason why we are actually listening to all those stories. And for us to actually increase, how do we actually also use Dhyana for this purpose? The way to do this is, first, we take a value. There are many values. For example, let's take being truthful, or following ahimsa, or being compassionate. So compassionate means anybody who has got any problem, we are compassionate. We don't wish them any bad. We are actually, we are compassionate towards others. That value, we take one of those values, and then we need to visualize it. We need to visualize it in the sense that we visualize it that we already have that value. And not only that, we already have that value, we are also enjoying or experiencing the benefit of following that value. So we'll have to meditate upon saying, how will my life be if I am actually truthful? And what kind of benefit it would give me? For example, it will remove all my fears. If I am truthful, I don't need to fear anybody, anything. So I try to visualize the benefit of it. And as I keep visualizing the benefit, the value that I have on that value will keep rising. And slowly, and this has to be done regularly over a period of time, saying, and it has to be practiced. So I meditate for some time and then I practice it further. And then I realize some benefit out of it, some satisfaction, some happiness, and then I bring it back into the meditation. I actually increase it further. So this is how this value meditation happens or needs to be performed. And as the value keeps rising, we will slowly be getting into the zone where we become personification of that value. Because just reading alone will not make us follow or get those values or imbibe those values. We will get information about those values. We may even know what the benefits people might get. And that is the reason why we need to study or read stories or follow the lives of Mahan, more to understand what sort of benefits that they have got out of these values. And then try to visualize us having those benefits. So we'll have value on that value only when we are able to experience the benefit. Benefit of what? Benefit of following the value. So we see or observe the lives of people who have been able to experience that benefit in their lives, and then we say, how would my life be if I am able to follow that value? So one of the things that for us, for the students of Vedanta, for us the best contribution to the society that we could do is to study Vedanta and live our life according to that as much as possible. Helping others in the society is all secondary. But the fact, if we are able to actually live the life according to Vedanta itself, that itself is a big contribution to the society that we are doing. If we are able to imbibe one or two values, that itself is enough to change the minds of people around us. We make small changes over a period of time in one or two things, that itself is noticeable. And all these values are all very important. Vedanta is not just about a bookish learning or understanding who am I. Vedanta without all these values is not values at all. That's why Bhagavan in 13th chapter, we already saw that in the 13th chapter, he calls all these values as Jnanam. Jnanam is knowledge. Vedanta is about knowledge. So without these values, then Jnanam itself will not go through us or go into us. And Śāstra uses strong words for people who talk Vedanta without living values. In fact, Shankara Bhagavad-pada's, one of the Sishyas of Shankara Bhagavad-pada, Adi Shankaracharya, is Sureshwaracharya. And Sureshwaracharya says, a sannyasi who talks of Vedanta but is living a life without values prescribed in Vedanta, he says he is worse than a dog which eats its own vomit. So he is so critical of that person who is a sannyasi who talks of Vedanta but doesn't live according to the life of Vedanta. So values are very important. However much we study, however much reels we follow, or the quotes that we see from some of the Mahāns, they are all only for inspiring us for a bit, for a small time. It is only for us to actually get inspired at that moment. And we also come to know what is right, what is wrong. But having all this inspiration or knowing what is right and knowing what is wrong, they do not determine what sort of a person we are. What determines who we are is not the knowledge, but it is the values that we have assimilated. So in this dhyana, we will bring the value into our thought and then focus on visualizing the benefit. By following this value, what sort of benefit I will get. Slowly, and after the dhyana, it is not just dhyana. So we'll have to follow it up with in practice by implementing that value in our lives. So we'll convert our life into a life of that value. This is the fourth type of dhyana, which is value dhyana. So it is not just for the positive tendencies that we need to have this value dhyana. Sometimes we may have negative tendencies also that we won't want to remove from our personality. So in that case, what we do is we meditate upon the opposite value of the negative character, called as Pratipakṣa Bhāvanā. So we take a Pratipakṣa Bhāvanā. For example, if a person is short-tempered, gets angry quickly, then the person has to meditate upon the value of Shantam. I am at peace. I am patient. Or if a person has Kripana, miserliness as a character, he doesn't want to share things, doesn't want to give it to others, then that person has to take up Dhanam, sharing as a virtue, donation as a virtue, that as a value to meditate upon. So how it is to actually donate? What if I am able to donate this possession to somebody? Just meditate and then feel how happy you would be, how happy in sharing that with others. And some people have this tendency to lie. And some people lie for cracking a joke. So cracking a joke, they need to lie. or they do simple exaggerations, even that is not considered a good character for us when we are in this path. So for them, they will have to take Satyam as a value to meditate upon. Some people have a tendency to say something but do something else. That tendency is called as Vakra. Vakra Buddhi, we say. Vakra Buddhi means I think something, I say something else, and I do something else totally. That is called as Vakram. It's not in a straight line. So for that person, the person needs to take Arjavam as a value to meditate upon. What are the values to meditate upon? We have, Bhagavan has already given 20 values in chapter 13, 24 in Devi Asiri Sampat, in chapter 16. So there are quite a few values that we can pick up from there and understand what actually would be relevant for us or what we need to follow, and then we can meditate upon that. So whoever has whatever doshas in our antakarana, see, ultimately the understanding is this whole purpose is to actually purify ourselves. Purify our external purification, we do that daily by taking shower, and we take pride in, sometimes some people take pride that I take shower twice a day or thrice a day. But that purification, more important than the physical body, is the mental purification. We give so much of importance these days to our physical health. We say how much of protein we should eat, what sort of exercise we should do, strength training, core training, all those for the physical body we want to give so much of training, so much of importance, and we are willing to spend time, money, effort for that. But we do not understand this physical body is going to be there only until the end of this birth. When we die, we are going to take a new body. This physical body is not going to come along with us. But the mind is going to come along with us. The same mind is going to travel for the next body also. So if we purify anything in this Janma, it is going to help us in the coming Janmas also. And this physical body, we think it's going to come until the end of this life, but there will be a stage in our lives where even after a particular stage, after a particular age, we cannot do much about this physical body. We will have to just live with the problems of the physical body. However much we want to give it exercise, proteins and carbs and fiber and others, the body may not be willing to take it up. Not that I am saying that do not neglect physical body, but I think the importance should be more given to the mind than to the physical body. And if you look at it, most of the time the physical body, whatever we are seeing as problems in the physical body, are a reflection of how the mind is. If the mind is agitated, it is reflected in the physical body. If the mind has got jealousy, it is reflected in the physical body. So, value meditation helps in actually purifying the mind. It helps in removing the doshas in our antakarana. So, that is what this dhyana is meant for. So, just to recap, why do we meditate upon values? Because just the knowledge of dharma and adharma will not make us dharmavan. Only the value that we keep on dharma will make us dharmavan. And these values are not very important until we come to Vedanta. In our material world, for material success, there may be certain people who may say that actually by going against these values you would be more successful in this material world, and they may even quote you instances, give you examples and others. We might be fooled into thinking that that is how we may have to live our lives. But once we come into this Vedanta, we have to understand that these values are very important. And once we start coming to Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta, our responsibility becomes higher. The moment we touch the book of Bhagavad Gita, we have a responsibility. That responsibility is, we have become an ambassador now. People are watching us. Whether we like it or not, people are going to say, oh, you've started reading Bhagavad Gita, maybe then you shouldn't be doing these things. They will observe us, they will follow us. And therefore, these values become super important after we come to Vedanta. And when we start with Vedanta, until the time we have come to Vedanta, if we don't have these values, it's okay. Because Bhagavan says in 16th chapter, not everybody is born with these good values. We have had millions and zillions of births. Our minds have gone through so many things. So it is okay if the mind is not pure and somebody else is able to do that. Somebody else is able to remain calm. I am only getting agitated. That's fine. But what we have to do is we'll have to put an effort. We'll have to imbibe the good values. If somebody says finds a fault in us, it is important for us to pause a bit, reflect upon it and see. You may not even want to show that the other person that what you say is true or not. But it is important for us to reflect. Because we ourselves being so close to our mind, we may not even notice the faults of our mind. So we'll see the importance of having these values for Vedanta. We will see that importance of these later in in Bhagavad Gita itself, but more importantly in our lives itself, we will be able to see the difference. So with this, we come to the end of topic called Upasana. Upasana is the Dhyana that helps us to prepare ourselves, prepare our mind for Jnana. Remember, we split Dhyana into Upasana and Nididhyāsana. Upasana, as I said, is the Dhyana that is performed before Jnana for preparing the mind. Nididhyāsana is the Dhyana that is performed after Jnana for Jnana Nishta. And we split the Upasana into 4 types: relaxation, concentration, expansion, values. What is the benefit of these 4 types of Dhyana? When we listen to Vedanta, the Shravanam, when we listen means Shravanam, when we do Shravanam, the Shravanam will result in knowledge. When I say it will result in knowledge, it actually depends on ourselves. Whether the Vedantic teaching coming from the Guru, whether it is coming in the forms of words or whether it is coming in the form of meaning, its meaning, that is determined by our mind. Whether it is actually only words for me or whether I am able to really understand its meaning. So whether it is getting converted into meaning or not is determined by how much the mind is prepared. And what helps us to prepare the mind? These dhyana, these 4 types of dhyana. These 4 types of upasana. That will help us to understand Vedanta better. Or if we do not do that, or if we do not focus on that, we will not be able to understand Vedanta. We will be coming to the classes for multiple sessions, multiple years, and then we would say, I'm still not able to get it. So, but what happens if I'm not able to do dhyana, if I'm not able to meditate, will I never be able to get the knowledge? Shastras say, not necessarily. You will get adhikaratvam by listening itself, by doing shravanam itself, but it might be slow. Shravanam itself will slowly be giving the adhikaratvam. So initially when I listen to Vedanta, it is still words to me. I'm not able to get the meaning of it, or I'm not able to fully realize that I am Brahman, I am the Atma, I am all pervading, I am Nitya, I am eternal, I am the truth, everything has been superimposed on me. I'm not able to get it. But what that Shravanam will do, continuous Shravanam, will help me prepare my mind. It will slowly, my mind will start getting that qualification required. And then once I'm fully qualified, the same words that were spoken before by the Guru would now suddenly dawn upon me as knowledge. And I'm able to realize immediately. So, but if you want a quicker way of qualifying, then we should do this upasana. Now we'll go to the next type of dhyana, which is Nididhyāsana. See, once we have prepared our mind, we'll have to do Vedanta Shravanam, which is again listening to Vedanta. If we do not listen to Shastras, if we do not listen to Vedanta, Shastra, if we do not listen to Bhagavad Gita, but our mind is pure, we have already purified our mind. The mind is pure, no doubt, but it still remains ignorant. So, in other words, before we come to Vedanta, before we start on this path, the mind has two doshas. One is called as Ashuddhi, or we will say two doshas or two malam or dirt. One is Ashuddhi, and then the second one is Ajnana. Ashuddhi means dirt, and then Ajnana means ignorance. Ashuddhi and Malam are one and the same, but Ashuddhi itself we can actually split into two. Ashuddhi itself can be split into two, as one as Malam, and then the other one is Vikshepa. Malam and Vikshepa. Malam means impurity. Vikshepa means the wavering nature of mind. Shastra says that all these have to be removed. The two Ashuddhis must be removed, which is what? Malam and Vikshepa. For Ajnana, you have Vedanta Shravanam. For Malam, the dirt, that impurity or that Ashuddhi is removed by Karma Yoga. As we do Karma Yoga, the mind gets purified. What is Ashuddhi here? We are talking about the Malam that we are talking about is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsaryam. Or it is all stems from Ragadveshas, our likes and dislikes. So to reduce the Ragadveshas, we need to do Karma Yoga. What about the Vikshepa, the wavering mind? How do we control that? How do we reduce that? For that we have to do Upasana Yoga. So when you do Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga being these four types of Dhyana, what happens? The mind becomes pure, the mind becomes calm, but it still remains ignorant. So now the ignorance must be removed. For that we need knowledge. And remember, we had already seen that Dhyana cannot give us knowledge. I cannot meditate and say, I have got my knowledge now. I have liberated now. I cannot meditate and then say, Eureka, now I realize that I am actually without listening, I cannot get that knowledge. Knowledge can be got only through pramana. And what sort of ignorance we are talking about? We are talking about not about the ignorance of the world. We are talking about self-ignorance. Ignorance about I, me. Atma Jnana. Then if you ask, what is the pramana for this knowledge of the self? What is the instrument of knowledge? What is the means of knowledge for us to get out of this ignorance? Then Śāstra say it is the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, they are the pramanas. And this Śāstra, can I read it? No. It must be listened from a guru. It must be listened from a guru. If somebody tries to read that independently, they may not get it. So the pramana is Vedanta Vakya Shravanam. And by listening to the Shastras, the self-ignorance is removed. And as we keep listening, what happens? We'll get doubts. And the process of clarifying these doubts is called as mananam. Shravanam is listening. Then as we listen, we get doubts. Those doubts, when they get clarified, that process is called as mananam. Now, at this stage, once the mananam is done, the seeker or the sadhaka will say, now got this knowledge, I am the Atma that is beyond this Thula Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. I am beyond this body. I am the all-pervading Atma. I get it. What is this Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira? What does that represent? It represents the entire Anatma. So what we say, this Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira, in other words, we can say, in English, we can say this body-mind complex. So we can say, I am beyond this body-mind complex. I am the Chaitanya Swarupa, consciousness principle that enlivens this body. We have already seen this. I'll just quickly recap. If this is the body that you see, the hand, the light that reflects on this hand is like the consciousness principle. So the consciousness principle, the Chaitanya Swarupa, that's I, is not part of this hand, it's not a property of this hand, is not a product of this hand. So the Chaitanya Swarupa is not part, product or property of the body. I am not the body, I am not a part of the body, I am not a property of the body, I am not a product of the body. Body is independent, I am independent. And I enliven the body. So only because of the light I am able to see this hand. Without the light I will not be able to see the hand. I am enlivening the body. And not only that, I am beyond the boundaries of the body. The light is there even around the hand. The same light. Same way the Chaitanya Swarupa is beyond the boundaries of the body. Atma is also Sat Swarupa. Sat Swarupa meaning I am the existence principle. I am eternal. I am the knowledge principle. So who will have this knowledge? This person who has been able to remove the Ashuddhi. What sort of Ashuddhi? Ashuddhi and Vikshepa through Karma and Upasana Yoga. And he has got this knowledge, after removing it, he has got this knowledge through Shravanam and Mananam. What knowledge? That I am not this body or mind, I don't have death, I am eternal, I am the knowledge principle. And not only that, the body is the mind, the world, the whole world, this is all an appearance. It has been superimposed on me. The Jagat is mithya. That knowledge that person has. And once that person has this knowledge, what will be that person's attitude? By having this knowledge, how would this change my life? When I once have this knowledge, that person realizes that there is nothing in this world that needs to be done. Will that person get sorrow because the body gets a disease? No. Because he does not identify the self with the body. Will the person be upset that someone had insulted him? Not at all. Because he does not identify the self with the mind. Will he have any fear that he will lose any of his possessions? No. Because everything is the self. I am everywhere. I am everything. Will he feel jealous of anyone? Absolutely not. Because for him, there is nothing other than the self in this world. There is only one tattva, that is Brahman or Atma. And that is the self. The body, mind being superimposed on Atma will, for us it may be able to slightly understand. But once we have this knowledge, we will realize even the world has been superimposed on us. Superimposed on self. So no circumstances, no situations in the world will impact the person. Now, he's got this knowledge. But in spite of all this knowledge, this sadhaka still has one more obstacle to cross. And that is, he is not able to steady himself on this jnana at all times. There are at times where he identifies the self with the body and the mind. And what is the reason for it? The reason is, this knowledge has not been got by destroying the body and mind. If I am destroying the body and mind does not exist, so now I know that I am not the body and mind, I am the Atma. But this knowledge has been got by keeping this body and mind. The body and mind are already there, but I am still saying I am not this body and mind. And not only that, that person must transact in this world by identifying with the body and mind. When he is talking to other ajnanis or another person in this world, he cannot say I am Brahman, I am not the body and mind. He will have to say, I need this, I am hungry. He will have to say that. He will have to transact in the world with this knowledge, by identifying with this body and mind at times. So, this anatma, that person would have to be with this anatma throughout day and night. Until when? Until the body dies. Until the body dies, the same anatma that I have disowned, I don't need you, I am not you. And yet I may have to hold on to it. The one that I have disowned as self, I will have to keep it. I will have to have it. I will have to transact using it. And therefore, the knowledge does not get steadied. So therefore, there is a chance of falling out of this jnana. There is no jnana nishta. In our lives, we would have seen attaining something is easy. Retaining is difficult. Not that attaining is something is easy, but it's definitely easier than retaining things. And similarly, attaining jnana is relatively easy, but remaining established in it is difficult. See, if on a hot summer afternoon, if you say somebody has to walk barefoot on a tar road, in India they do this tar road and they normally do it during summers, because summers there won't be any rain, the sun can dry it out things quickly. And if a person needs to walk on that, you'll be able to walk quickly, run by placing the foot and then moving quickly in it. But somebody says remain standing there barefoot on that road, that's not possible. That is not easy. Nishtha is also like that. Understanding Vedanta, feeling inspired by it, having moments of clarity, that can happen. But to remain steadily established in this understanding, despite the pressure, stressful situations around us, despite the praise and the criticism that we are getting in this world. And not only that, when the body sees comfort, when the body is able to lie down on a bed with a nice cool air conditioning around us, we identify ourselves with the body. Or when there is a discomfort, I got a knee pain, I've got a stomach ache, I've got a headache, discomfort, again I identify with the body. So in those times, to remain established with that understanding despite this praise, criticism, comfort, discomfort, joy, sorrow, that requires nishtha. And our habitual tendencies, our samskaras, they act as obstacles. And whenever we slip from that knowledge, what do we do? For that person experiences the same samsara that he was suffering from before he got this knowledge. Before he got this knowledge, he was suffering from samsara. Now, after knowledge also, he is now again suffering in that same samsara. So now what happens is, for this person, the sorrow gets doubled. Because before I got my knowledge, I got angry, I felt fear, I was jealous, I had pride, I got upset with people's words. That's fine. But now, after knowing the truth, after this wonderful discovery, and this is what? Rajaguhyam, divine secret. After getting this knowledge, the ultimate secret, I am not able to retain the knowledge. I cannot retain that knowledge. I fall. So now I have got this one, I have got an extra guilt feeling also now. So to steady oneself in that knowledge and to ensure that one does not make the mistake of having this body identification, this abhimana on the body, abhimana on the mind, basically identifying the body to be I, this mind to be I, to study that knowledge and to not have this abhimana on the body and mind, the sadhana must perform a dhyana, which is called as Nididhyāsana. So Nididhyāsana is a sadhana that must be performed by sadhakas who have already got the jnana. Not as a beginning sadhana, it's one of the sadhanas that must be performed only after we get the jnana. And this sadhana is to remove the obstacles of our own vasanas. We can perform this Nididhyāsana sadhana also. It's like even before getting this jnana, it may not give us jnana nishta, but it might help us to give jnana. It's like same thing. The shravanam before doing the upasana may not give us the knowledge, but may make us purified. In the same way, Nididhyāsana as a dhyana may not give us dhyana nishta if we do it now before getting that knowledge, but it will still help. But the main purpose of Nididhyāsana dhyana is to remove the obstacles of our own vasanas, our habitual. What is our vasana? Habitual tendencies. We are habituated over zillions of birth, the mind behaves in a certain manner, and our samskaras. And these habitual tendencies, these vasanas and samskaras are considered to be the dosha that we have is technically called as viparita bhavana. Viparita bhavana means I misunderstand, I go back to the wrong understanding of the body to be I, the mind to be I. That is the viparita bhavana. And what do we do in this Nididhyāsana? We bring back the mind, the same knowledge that it has already attained through Shravanam and Mananam. We deliberately practice remaining in that knowledge. So we ask the mind, stay in that knowledge, rest on that knowledge, be established on that knowledge. So Nididhyāsana is not about gaining new knowledge. Remember, Dhyana can give us no knowledge. So it is not about gaining new knowledge. It is not even analysis. It is only a repeated return of the mind to what it has already understood. How long we need to do that? Until the knowledge becomes our natural stand. Until we are able to, even if there are some difficult circumstances, I am able to remain established in that knowledge. That is Nididhyāsana dhyana. Now, Nididhyāsana is the only way to do Nididhyāsana, or only way for us to do Nididhyāsana, is it only through dhyana? The answer is no. Actually, Nididhyāsana can be done in two ways. There are two types of Nididhyāsana dhyana, or Nididhyāsana, not dhyana. One is Nididhyāsana dhyana. What is the purpose of Nididhyāsana? Purpose of Nididhyāsana is to bring the knowledge back. So whenever I am bringing that knowledge back, it is called as Nididhyāsana. We can say that is Nididhyāsana. What knowledge? That we have to be very clear. Not knowledge, I am that Atma Swarupa, I am not the body, I am not the mind, the world is a mithya, everything is superimposition. I do not have, because I do not identify myself with the body or the mind, anything that the body and the mind goes through is not my problem, is not my issue. Now, an important condition is this knowledge must already be there in my mind for me to bring back this knowledge. And not only it should be in my mind, it should be with conviction. I should not have any doubt. There should be doubtless knowledge in that. What is the doubtless knowledge? That I am not the body. I am able to realize I am not the body. I am not this mind. There should be no doubt about it. And if a person has not gained that knowledge, then bringing the thoughts that I am this eternal Atma Swarupa, that is not called as Nididhyāsana. It is more like intellectually we are trying to reinforce that thought. It is try to make some adjustments in our intellect. So first jnana must be there. And whenever we try to bring back this knowledge back in our mind, it is called as Nididhyāsana. And for this first type, where we don't need to sit as dhyana, but whenever we bring back this knowledge, or whenever a person brings back this knowledge, it is called as Nididhyāsana. So which means for that Nididhyāsana sadhana, there is no special time, there is no special place, no special posture, nothing. How can I get back this knowledge? I listen to the Vedanta Shravanam again. So when I listen to Vedanta Shravana, I get back this knowledge. So that itself becomes Nididhyāsana. Shravanam becomes Nididhyāsana. If a person does Shravanam for gaining knowledge, or if a person listens to Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads for gaining knowledge, it is called as Vedanta Shravanam. If a person listens to Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads after gaining knowledge, it is called as Nididhyāsana. Very listening itself becomes Nididhyāsana. So listening before Jnana is Shravanam, listening after Jnana is Nididhyāsana. The activity from outside looks the same, but the inner purpose is different. That is one way. Vedanta Shravanam, if you do it after knowledge, it is Nididhyāsana. Now let us come to daily life. What happens is, whenever a situation arises where we know that we are going to fall into the trap of samsara. So I can see that in a short while I am going to fall, which means I'm either going to have kama or krodha or lobha or moha or mada or matsarya. I'm going to fall in the hands of desire or anger, or I'm going to lose it. I'm going to have jealousy. I can see that it's an attachment or an greed is going to come through. At that moment, if I am able to bring back this knowledge, hold, I am the Atma Swarupa, this is Mithya, then at that moment we can say we are practicing Nididhyāsana. So Nididhyāsana doesn't mean that it has to be done something sitting in one corner. It is something that can be done in day-to-day activities, in the middle of life. So that is Nididhyāsana. So as I said, Nididhyāsana Dhyana means you sit, you bring back the thought, that is, you bring back the thought to that, you do it through a meditational posture. That is one way. The other way is actually doing Shravanam. That is one way. Then the other thing is actually when we are about to fall into some trap of samsara, we are able to bring back this knowledge. That is also Nididhyāsana. Now, the last one I said, where you are able to bring back the knowledge when we are about to fall in the trap of samsara, it's very easy to explain, but it is very difficult to practice. What will happen is, we will remember the knowledge, no doubt about it, but only after the event has passed through. Only after everything is over. Only after I have actually got into desire, or I have gone into anger, or I have gone into a depression or a rejection or a jealousy or a greed. And then I realize, after I get there, I come back and then I realize, oh, I've gone into that. I should have actually remembered that I am the Atma. So it is easy to explain but difficult to practice. Because to bring back the knowledge before the event is very difficult. It is easy to say be alert, but alertness do not come naturally. And that is why the other type of Nididhyāsana, which is Nididhyāsana Dhyana, it becomes necessary. And what happens in the second type of Nididhyāsana Dhyana, it is practiced exactly like Upasana. So this is a discipline, so which means we have to go take a fixed time, we have to find a same place, we have to sit quietly, we'll have to calm the mind, we'll have to close everything. And then we bring back the thought again and again of Atma Swarupa. It's a formal dhyana, and it is absolutely necessary in the initial stages. What is initial stages? Initial stages after getting the knowledge. Because why? Every antakarana, every person's antakarana, we have deep weaknesses over which we have got over multiple births. And in this Janma itself, for example, some people may not have received parental love, or some people may have been deceived by friends, some people may have had a family calamity, some people may have undergone some emotional trauma. Those things would have left some deep mental wounds. And just that intellectual knowledge, we cannot brush aside all these things. They require separate effort. Separate effort, not healing and all those things. What separate effort is? Nididhyāsana. We'll have to deliberately dwell on the truth. That I am that Atma. Whatever that has gone through, it has only taken by the body. Whatever that the emotional things have gone through, it is taken by the mind. I am different from the body and mind. The body has to go through because it has to go through its prarabdha. The mind has to go through because it has to go through its prarabdha. I, the Atma, I am not affected by prarabdha. That deliberately bringing that thought, I am that Nitya Suddha Sarvagata Atma. So by doing that, these deep disturbances, they slowly get healed. What is the difference between Upasana and Nididhyāsana? What are the common things between Nididhyāsana or Upasana Dhyana? That we will see in the next class. Any questions or comments? Okay. If not, we will see in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.